continuing on with things that we saw at CES that I unfortunately didn't get a chance to talk about in real time. One of the companies that we spent some time talking to was IOgear. And they're launching some really big streaming hardware this year. We've got the Upstream Pro, which is a dual video capture, which allows you to bring in and mix multiple 4K streams. And it says 1080p 60 capture, which is a little on the lower side. Some of the competing devices I've seen will capture like 2560, 1440 at 60 hertz at this point. They don't do 1080p 60, but those also only have a single stream in. This is 2 streams, and let's see here. Yeah, 2 HDMI ins, 1 HDMI program out, chroma key capable for live keying, 1 RCA left and right, 1 mic XLR. So this is all the bells and whistles. And then this is the Upstream mobile capture adapter. This is also 1080p 60 capture. PC and smartphone functionality. Looks like it's got Usbc on it for power delivery. So this is the type of thing you could strap to a camera, take with you to an event, be very portable, especially if you've got power going into it. Let's actually go ahead and start with the smaller one, the mobile capture adapter. Let's see. Looks like we've got a little bit of tape here. And of course, this is PC, Android, Mac. I think it's got iOS support coming as well. Alright, so fairly traditional cardboard, and blow mold plastic. We get a little quick start guide. Talks about the GUV302P Upstream Mobile Capture Card. IOgear, I love some of your ideas, but you've got to work on the names of some of this stuff. Requires Android 5 or above with UVC support, Mac OS 10.13, Windows 10. When available, Type-C or Type-A port, i3 with 2.8 gigahertz and 4 gigs of RAM for the PC side of the world. And let's take a look at the product. So I don't like the plastic case. It gives it a very light feeling. They could have used a higher density plastic. I would have liked aluminum. What is the price point that this is at? So the MSRP is $150, which isn't terrible. I fully anticipate that we'll see it sell for a street price of about $100. Let's see. Link for phone connectivity, output, power. So I've got 2 USB-C on this side. I've got an HDMI in and out. So functionally, that puts this at a capability level above the Flint 4KP that we looked at a while ago, and well above the $20 USB HDMI capture dongle that we had. So where is it? HDMI source all the way to 4K 60, should pass through 4K 60, and it will capture 1080p 60 as it mentioned. Can I open this? Are there screws under these feet? There are. So I'm going to open it, and we're going to see what's in here. And well, I am working on that. Overall, although I'm not super fond of the use of plastic, it feels well built. It is kind of light, and That's good and bad. If you're going to stick this on a cold shoe mount on your camera, every single ounce of weight counts. If you are taking something like this, you know, they've got some videos on their product page of it mounted to a bicycle for like trail riding. So weight matters in those situations, but I think I still would have liked the premium feel of metal, even if that really wouldn't have I don't know. Maybe that's just me being fussy. All right, so what am I missing? I think there's some tape. There we go. All right, so actually that's a lot more than I anticipated seeing. So we've got a couple of chips from ITE. I see a Realtek chip. Looks like it's an ALC. So let's see what's under the board as well. Okay, now I like that. So this is the quarter 20 mount out of the enclosure, and they're set in plastic, which is suboptimal. It's always easier to strip plastic than metal, but they're removable. So there's 3 screws once you get in here. You can remove that. And although there seems to be a little bit of fighting with some flexible tape or something, overall, not bad. So there's an e-tron EJ511, and I bet that is our capture IC. The EJ51 is a USB 3 capture IC supporting 1080p 60 with audio sample rates of 32, 44.1, and 48 kilohertz. And it's full UVC supported. So this should just kind of work out of the box with no fancy drivers using that e-tron. So that is good. And then, like I said, I noticed there was a Realtek chip here that's probably handling... So, anyway, fairly popular same setup. We get a couple of other accessories in here. Looks like we get a cold shoe mount. Nothing special, nothing good or bad to say about this particular cold shoe mount style. I've got a bunch of these. They come in kits. You can get them for like $10 with a bunch of adapter screws on Amazon. This one seems to be all aluminum. Fairly decent there. Couple of Type C and Type A cables. Looks like the Type C calls out that it's only rated for 3 amps. That's actually not something I've seen before on a cable. I'm glad they included it there because you don't want to like try and charge a 100-watt laptop on a cable that can't handle 100 watts through it. But I've never actually seen a cable with this little sticker still on it. Usually it's like on the package or in some other listing. Cable appears to be about 18 inches long, fairly typical. So yeah, good design. I like some of the choices made here. The one thing that I think I'm not a fan of is the fact that the board is screwed to the top as opposed to the bottom. It made taking it out just a little bit harder. But such is life, I suppose. I do really like the way that they handled the quarter 20s here, because it means that it will be possible to repair or replace them if and when something ever happens. And honestly, over tightening a quarter 20 mount is probably the most common damage you'll see on a piece of equipment like this, because it's very easy to take one of those thumb screws and just keep tightening it and tightening it and tightening it, thinking that it's loose and the thing is moving. And I actually destroyed my studio camera one time. I had to send it all the way to China and get it repaired because I over-tightened the quarter 20 and snapped the power board on it. All right, so now let's see if I can get the tricky part done, which is getting this back in. Actually, I wonder. All right, and then these feet just go back here. The potential downside of disassembling it, that these feet are likely a casualty that will peel off at some point in the future. So I may have to get some replacements. All right, so there is the Ustream Mobile. Let's take a look at the Ustream Pro. So same kind of thing here. This is 2 Live, still supports Android, Mac, PC. It says it's got an iOS app, so this one probably has either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi control. Let's take a look. So we have a little accessory bag of sorts that includes probably a cable. No, this is... Oh, okay, so this is a bracket that I bet we can screw onto the bottom to put it on a quarter 20 mount. Looks like we get an IEC power cable. This is interesting. I have literally never seen, or I should say I've never held, I think I've seen them on Amazon, this particular type of USB cable. This is a USB-C to a USB Type B cable. And they appear to have sent feels like a 6-foot cable. So that is Type C to Type B, which tells me that this is going to be Type B on the back. We get another box with, okay, so this is 5 volts, 4 amps. Probably could have made it Type C powered. We get a Type A to Type B cable. A much larger quick start guide. And then the main attraction in a steel case, the Ustream Pro. And like I mentioned, that would screw in there. I don't see any screws though. Oh, here they are. So a couple of screws. Some plastic trim on the front. There's a button. Type B on the back. We have a switch for HDCP, so it can handle and presumably pass through content protection. Hardware installation, software installation. There's instructions on OBS and XSplit. IOgear Upstream Essentials app from the App Store. Same hardware requirements. I think this is going to be another UVC device, so there shouldn't be any driver to handle. It says the GUV322 cannot capture HDCP protected content. All right, and then we get the same basic stuff in a couple of languages. Yeah, so DC power, HDCP switch. This is probably my biggest disappointment on the Upstream Pro, is that it's only got a single XLR input. For your typical streamer, a single XLR is more than enough. Your average streamer uses a condenser mic like my NW700 or a Bluetooth mic like the Blue Yeti that I have. However, in my studio, for my day-to-day use, that's actually not quite enough. I have stereo microphones. I've got my Audio-Technica Pro 4.4s here in the studio. In a, mic in each corner type configuration. So having a single XLR kind of sucks there. The other thing that's missing is there's no audio out. So there's no audio mixing features in here. It's literally just audio in. It's XLR in and it's RCA in. I would have liked to have seen an audio output for a monitor for the end user instead of just capture. Let's see. Is there any other information in the... No, this is actually just a flyer about, or not a flyer, like a brochure about all of IOgear's other devices. Some fancy looking USB 3 docks. I might have to send them a note about if we can do a feature on Display Link. But anyway, so let's take a look at what's inside the Upstream Pro. Now, this is not the largest Upstream device they have. There is a step above this as well. And that is the... So this is the Pro dual video capture adapter. There's also a Pro video production switch, which is a hardware and software switch that has more features in it. It'll act independently. It doesn't need a PC. It is not something that we can demo today. And part of that is that the Upstream Pro, the Upstream Studio app, is still iOS only. So it's not quite going to do what I need yet. However, it is multiple. It's got a 4K HDMI in and two 1080p 60 HDMI ins, a mic line input, an RCA jack. The audio output, it does have a line out. Control it via USB or Ethernet. So it's a much bigger device. And that retails for $9.95. This has a $399.95 MSRP. A little bit more palatable than the full Pro with switcher version. And it still does dual video capture. I'm going to have to see what kind of input that gives me in OBS. We'll try it with the Android app. We'll try both of them with the Android app. Because a dual capture device is something that I haven't had a chance to try yet. All right. And I do like the screws that I can get to. Wow, there's a lot more going on in this one. So this has got a macro image technology Mdin 400. Now there's something I haven't seen before. We've got an analog devices AU1452 Lattice technology chip. We've got another Realtek chip. This is an RTS 5411. Couple of ITE IT6802E chips. An STM microcontroller. Looks like an STM32F205. And, okay, so there's a second PCB that appears to be just dedicated to the audio inputs. It's actually jumpered into the first board. There's a row of pin headers here. And we're not going to take that off. There don't appear to be any additional components underneath the board of any significance. So, looks like power regulation is also on the board that handles audio, which is kind of a bummer from a signal quality standpoint. So, all right, let's check what that Mdin 400 is capable of. So that is a video scaler with dual channel video processing for 2 input sources to generate picture-in-picture, picture-on-picture, and dual video output. So if I had to guess, that is handling the program output. That's not our capture device. There's an EJ511, just like we saw in the other IOgear box. So if I had to guess, what's happening is that this is handling our scaling and then sending one stream of HDMI out to the program output. And then it's sending a second stream to capture to the EJ511. Would be my guess. I'm going to take time. I read off a bunch of chips. I'm going to look up some of those and see what some of them do and get a little bit better understanding of what all is going on inside this box. But yeah, very interesting design. I expected a more single chip solution. So we've also got a lot of cabling here to this front panel. More than I would expect for what appears to be like 4 LEDs and a button. So there may be more functions on that front panel than I am anticipating. So, all right, that is our intro to these IOgear devices. Now, if there's anything specific you want me to try with these, let me know in the comments below. We are going to, hopefully, in 2021, get back to doing our news broadcasts, and I will definitely be using these for some of that. Since I definitely want to make sure that they're, better than my $20 USB HDMI capture dongle. I mean, they better be at the prices that they're at. Yeah, so I'm going to do a newscast, probably not this week, but in the next couple of weeks. Well, I say this week. Relative to when I'm shooting this, not relative to when you're seeing it. And make sure to use this, and I'm going to use the Upstream Pro with my NW700 for one of those. And do something to show off the picture-in-picture for the newscast. We took our green screen down to use a live background, but I may hang it back up because these should do live chroma keying as well. But anyway, I'm rambling on. If anyone has any questions, any tests they want to see done on these, let me know in the comments below, and I will make sure to include those in our final coverage. I do want to thank IOgear for sending these out to review. I also want to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables through our Amazon affiliate links as well as Patreon. It is support like that that helps make content like this possible. I want to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. And finally, thank you for watching.